right. Well, China is intensifying its espionage crackdown and is now allegedly targeting U.S. spies. China's Ministry of State Security is saying it's investigating a ministry official they claim provided information to the CIA in exchange for money. This is the second Chinese national in less than a month accused of spying for the U.S. Joining me now from Sydney, Australia, Gatestone Institute senior fellow, author of The Coming Collapse of China, the Great U.S.-China Tech War, Gordon Chang. Gordon, good morning. This report is very troubling, in particular for us, for the United States, in particular the hardworking individuals in the CIA, some of whom are risking their life to try and get the real story from China.
Yes, and it's also troubling because China is attacking the United States. They're identifying us as an enemy. Now, we don't know whether the individuals concerned were actually spying for the U.S., but I think China's regime has identified us, and they're going after us to whip up the Chinese population in hatred for America.
You know, it's interesting, too, here, because the question mark, obviously, is tariffs. Are they working or not? What is your opinion?
I think that they're working. I think that a number of President Biden's measures, although they need to be stronger, are also working. And we can see this from Chinese propaganda because they are just relentlessly criticizing the administration for what it's doing. They wouldn't be doing that if they weren't concerned about the United States. And I think part of it is not so much the severity of the measures that the Biden administration has been imposing, but the problems inside China itself. So just a little change in American policy is having a big effect inside the country.
All right. Charisse Trump is with me on set. Charisse, go ahead.
Hey, Gordon, nice to see you. So the Biden administration is telling they're telling China, essentially urging Beijing to cease military, diplomatic, and economic pressure against Taiwan, but to instead engage in meaningful dialogue. Can you explain to us what meaningful dialogue with Taiwan, between China and Taiwan, actually looks like?
Yeah, it looks like something that we have never seen because Beijing doesn't want to have any sort of discussions with Taiwan, especially right now. Taiwan is in election season. Its presidential election is January 13th of next year. And right now, the candidate that Beijing abhors, Vice President William Lai of the Democratic Progressive Party, is well ahead. And China right now is, with its propaganda, is going after Lai. Part of the problem for China right now is that the pro-China candidates are split among three separate camps. And that's one of the reasons why Lai is leading. And Beijing wants those three candidates to agree on one to mount an effective challenge against the front runner.
I mean, so it seems to me that what you're saying is that this is rhetoric from China. And that as far as Taiwan is concerned, the idea is not to move militarily against Taiwan now, but later. Is that what you're saying?
That's right, because right now it wouldn't be in Beijing's advantage to, let's say, invade, while they could actually win at the ballot box next January. And I think China still has the hope that it can do that. But we got to remember, Cheryl, that once China puts all these planes and all these ships out there, it's inherently dangerous because you can have accidental contact. And so, therefore, what China is doing is raising the temperature and is making the situation dangerous.
All right. I want to ask you about Xi Jinping. He is traveling to South Africa today for a state visit, and he's going to attend the BRICS summit, and that kicks off tomorrow. So India and China also expected to hold talks on the sidelines. BRICS is this, as you know, a five-nation alliance. That's Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. What are you expecting to see here? Because, and Mike Lee's on set with me, but, you know, one of the things that from a monetary perspective here is the fact that China and India are now exchanging trade and goods, and they're not using the dollar.
Yes, well, the thing about India and China right now is that I think Xi Jinping wants to make nice. We have seen a reduction in tensions among their disputed border, and the Chinese have sort of backed off a little bit in their probing into Indian-controlled territory. Xi Jinping absolutely needs to sort of calm India down, and that's because Xi has so many problems at home and abroad. He doesn't need to have a military conflict with India, as he's had in the past, because China has been very belligerent in its moves in that disputed area in the Himalayas. Xi Jinping wants to go to the BRICS summit. He wants to show everybody that the China model works. But his country is falling apart, and the economy is in a very severe state right now. So I think Xi Jinping is going to be a little bit more quiet than he usually has been, or at least he should be, because he's got so many problems at home.
Mike Lee, jump in.
Yeah, hi, Gordon. So Evergrande, the Chinese real estate manager, it's looking more and more like this company is bankrupt, they're in default. All sorts of complications. Do you see this being the first of many dominoes that could topple the Chinese financial system, given its size, scope, and lack of ability to get an internal bailout?
Yeah, absolutely, because Evergrande, with about $300 billion in debt, just filed for Chapter 15 in the United States. It is essentially a zombie company. What's really happening is it's shaking other companies, including Country Garden, which once was considered to be solid, China's largest property developer by sales last year. They missed a bond payment last week. They probably will go into default if they can't cure it within 30 days. And then you have even the state property developers are starting to look a little bit shaky. We are seeing a snowballing effect in the property sector, and largely because property prices are far too high. There are not very many sales right now. There's nothing Beijing can do. The Chinese people aren't buying because they know prices will be lower. So this is where the Chinese economy actually, I think, could fall apart.
So they're having their 2008 financial crisis.
Absolutely. In 2008, they decided not to have any adverse consequences. They had the biggest stimulus program in history. And now their economy is debt-ridden. Debt to GDP is probably approaching 400% once you put in the hidden obligations. And their economy is exhausted. And there's, everyone's sort of wondering why Beijing is not having any policy responses. And I think the reason is because they know that anything they do will make the situation worse. We just saw a few hours ago the drop in the one-year prime rate. It was very unimpressive, 10 basis points. It shows you they've run out of ammunition in Beijing.
Well, I've said this for 20 years. I've reported on this data for 20 years out of China, and I've always said I've never believed it. Every time a GDP report comes out, anything that they come out, I always question it. We have to continue to do that. They are not honest about economic data or anything else at this point. That's very true. Gordon Chang, it's good to see you.
Thank you so much, Cheryl.
All right. Safe travels to you, by the way.